Yeah, I'd also take the chance, and I agree very much with what you say. And I think the copyright laws or the author's rights really is not a matter of protecting the author, but it's really about protecting the work. It is the work that is protected and is in the arms of the authors, of course. And I cannot see how a Creative Commons license can help an author, for example, like you describe it, who is writing for his living. And I cannot see why he should give his work away for free. Maybe some scholars would like to do so. As the moderator says, there's people who are working with copyright and have their income from other sources, which is of course completely fair. They can be journalists, they can be scholars, they can be employed somewhere where they get their money from another source. But an author living from his work, I cannot see why he is interested in giving it away for free. And let me also stress the need of copyright legislation and good working solutions in developing countries, because it's really important that copyright is a part of the economy in a country. And I think in many European countries there have been investigations about this. And in Norway, for example, the copyright industry has a higher value in the GNP than agriculture and fishing and forestry together. So being a part of the economy and that the work is protected and that can give money to the authors and publishers is very important in development work, I think.
Thank you. I could respond, of course, by saying that Creative Commons rests on copyright. So the integrity of the work is guaranteed by copyright as much with Creative Commons as without. As for not understanding why people should want to give their work for free, it's possible that one does not understand that, but it happens. So one has then to try to understand why it happens and not just say, I don't understand why it happens. It does happen. Something like several million scientists do it every day by just sending their articles for free to journals to be published. And they're sending it for free, and they're not getting money for it. Madam? Oh, okay. So I didn't see, sorry.
Quisiera señalar este aspecto que creo que debe hacer parte del debate.
I think that this point too should be part of the debate. Who really prevents access to this? So far, all the anecdotes that have been told are not really based on the decision of the authors to give or not to give possibility to have access to their work. The impossibility of having access often comes from the costs, the absence of the broadband in many countries, and the constraints of those who have this technology. That is why access is limited, and therefore knowledge is blocked. Only they who develop technology and who hold it can actually limit access, and this is what has happened so far. For this reason, the debate in many countries today involves the responsibility of internet providers and the need that they should work in harmony with the requirements of the authors or creators. I have not seen cases of authors or creators of works of art who have prevented access to their work by a community of people. And I think that this is something we should put into our discussion.
I'll pass on perhaps the question to the next person. Please identify yourself.
Thank you, Mr. Moderator.
Thank you.
We have a problem of access.
Okay, sorry. Thank you, Mr. Moderator. I'm Sumangla. I'm from Malaysia. I too come from a developing country. You gave us several scenarios of how we should think of copyright. But I wonder if you have thought of a situation where there's no concept of copyright. And that is what is happening in traditional knowledge, in knowledge that has been created for the common good, where there was no concept of an individual gaining from such knowledge. Much of Indian traditional knowledge for medicine and Chinese traditional knowledge work on the concept of no copyright. All individuals, mankind, should benefit from that. So that was the situation prevailing for Indian traditional medicine and Chinese traditional medicine until 2 or 3 years ago, I'm not sure of the date, when some researchers from the US decided that they would copyright some developments on the therapeutic and medicinal value of turmeric, something that was so quintessentially Indian. And so India had to fight a long legal battle, I believe, to establish that this is all established knowledge. Now, the Western world has a large legal apparatus, and they decided to use it. Now, what recourse do the developing world have when they have such concepts of benefit for everybody? Thank you.
Thank you very much. And thank you for reintroducing the balancing term to individualism and property by invoking the term of common good. I think this is really also part of that debate. I'd like to know if anybody in the panel would like to react to this. Just a minute. Anybody on the panel? No? Oh, you? Okay, well, we'll get to the next one.
Oui, bonjour. Je me présente, c'est
Good morning. My name is Marie Touque from the University of Dakar, Senegal. I have a commentary to make because after the contribution by Bokova, all the contributions we heard around the table, after listening to all of them, I am convinced that the book chain and the publishing industry, be it paper or ebook, is always a chain whose links are strictly connected. And when we talked about authors' rights and copyright, today more than ever, we need to encourage the protection of copyright and authors' rights. And therefore, we need to encourage authors to play a role in this chain, because authors always have an important role to play. In addition, publishers play a fundamental role in selecting what is to be published and in improving quality. I think also that despite new technology and all the technological power that exists, the dissemination causes even more problem because you see, in southern countries, it is difficult to access information that is increasingly costly. And we also have a problem of training to copyright and the idea of raising awareness, and that's what Esther said. But I'm also referring to training to do research in using these technology to access to relevant information. And, you know, libraries today are privileged vehicles to access information, so they must be trained to do internet research and queries. So, you see, I think it is important that all the links of the chain stay together, and we need to act at different levels on all of these links. And we need to strike a balance between paper and digital, especially for developing countries, because if we don't want to miss the train of paper and digital, we really need to encourage decision makers to make the right decision, and to take decisive action to encourage the creation and also access to information. And so I really think that it is fundamental to define right national policies. We haven't talked about that. In in the 70s, 80s, an expo tried to push the development of books in Latin America. And an actor was passed on books. And I think that is very topical because it will be possible to strike the right balance between digital and paper. Thank you so much for your contribution. I think that this contribution deserves a reply. I would just like to state the following. You're perfectly you're perfectly right talking about the stability of the chain. What you said at the onset of your contribution. The problem of this chain is that it is a chain of roles. And these roles are not covered by the same type of players. For instance, libraries do not do publishing, for instance. So to keep this chain in place, we need to change players, and that is where the debate sets in. What you talk about, namely the book policy, is a reason of concern somewhat, because digital content dissemination is totally globalized. In general, documents travel everywhere, all over the world. So that is also a problem. Another contribution.
D'université. J'ai juste une question à propos de.
I'm a university professor. I would like to ask a question regarding the duration of copyrights, because there is an intention of wanting to disseminate the works of an author, on the other hand, of wanting to protect them. And therefore, I think that it is a question of temporary character of the copyrights. So sometimes the duration lasts for a century or whatever, but it's not eternity at the time of internet.
Wants to react to this?
Just to answer the last question, you know, the duration of copyright, 70 years past the death of the author. It just ties up culture for long periods of time. And that's why we have the problem with orphan works. We can't find who the authors are on these works. We all own this culture. We all should be able to share this. And just like this lady was saying right here, I mean, can you imagine tying up all this medical information that was centuries old, belonging to all of us? We should all be able to access this. So copyright is working against sharing, against creativity, against culture. It just works for that single author, and then the question is, how much money did you really make? I mean, I wrote a dummies book, one of those yellow books that you buy, they're all over the world, and it's tied up in copyright. It doesn't circulate very much, and I hardly made any money on it at all. So, you know, I would rather have just given it away because it was important. It was a book about, you know, how to use, it was a technical book. But I just wonder how much are authors really making? And is the balance between culture and the general good that you were speaking about earlier? I mean, all of us profit from this. I mean, and now they're going to tie up at UCLA. They're tying up this whole thing that is just ridiculous. It's called the Hathi Trust Digital Life.